Welcome back to Retiring Today. This is our series, Retiring Through the Decades. We're focusing on the 60s today, but we did do an episode on what to do in your 50s. You can find that on our YouTube channel. It's Merkle Retirement Planning. I am here with Loren Merkle. He's a certified financial fiduciary and a certified financial planner. And part of that, Loren, means that you're looking for ways to put more spendable money into people's retirement plans. And one thing to do is look at RMDs and look at taxes and see what you can do for a couple like John and Sue.
Yeah, tax planning is one of the things that you can incorporate to make the biggest impact on how much of this money that you've saved you can actually keep over the course of your retirement. So John and Sue is an excellent example, and this is a real couple, by the way. Of course, we changed the names and changed some of the details, but this is not an uncommon scenario. John and Sue were watching the TV program. They called us up. They wanted to know what it would look like to work through our process and what their actual retirement plan would look like. So I sat down with John and Sue. We had a great conversation. And part of that conversation was John and Sue said, you know, we're not really looking to change advisors. They've had an advisor for 20 years, really good friends. They go to church. I mean, they have a great, they're not looking to change advisors, but they saw the show and they realized that their advisor wasn't talking about the same kind of concepts that we talk about, which Molly, we've talked quite a bit. That's not uncommon. There's a lot of different types of advisors, accumulation advisors, retirement planners. You need an accumulation advisor during your accumulation years. And then when it's time to retire, you find yourself making a lot of decisions you never had to make before. And that's where you need a specialist on your team, a retirement planner. So I was talking to John and Sue and said, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I know you have this great relationship. Let's just walk through this analysis. That's the next step. So the first meeting, we were just talking about their concerns, their thoughts, and what they're trying to accomplish. We agreed to get together again where we went through an analysis of here's some of the opportunities that John and Sue have. And part of the focus was this topic right here, tax planning. Because John and Sue, one of their concerns was not, are they going to run out of money? They knew they had enough money. Their lifestyle, they knew exactly what that was going to cost them. That wasn't their concern. Their concern was is they spent 40 years saving this money. They have some very specific legacy ambitions, and they want to make sure they make the most out of this money that they have saved. So in that second visit, we walked through a couple tax planning strategies that they can incorporate. And we also walked through what if they didn't incorporate tax planning, because that was the road they were on. They admitted they hadn't had tax planning conversations with their advisor, their friend. They also, when they go to their CPA, the CPA wasn't providing tax advice either. In fact, this part is funny. Maybe it's not funny. I don't know. But they said when they went to their friend, they saw the show. We were talking about the tax stuff. They went to their advisor, asked them for this tax planning stuff. The advisor said, go talk to the CPA. Yeah. And the CPA is like, I don't do that stuff.
Right. They don't do the planning. They more do the recording for you.
That's right. They file the taxes, and that tells everybody what happened prior year. But that doesn't say, here's the strategies you should incorporate long term to save on your overall tax bill, long-term tax bill.
And then you look at that and say, hey, here's what we've done hundreds of times. Here's how we look at 5 years down the road. Paying more now to pay maybe less later. I mean, that's what long-term tax planning looks like.
That's right. That's what long-term tax planning looks like. We have to forecast forward and say, here's the tax situation, here's your future tax environment, here's your current tax environment. If we do nothing, this is what it looks like. If we incorporate this strategy, this is what it looks like. So that's what we did for John and Sue. And we said, if we do nothing, then once you obtain age 72, once John and Sue obtains age 72, now their tax bracket skyrocketed.
Because of RMDs.
Because of RMDs. So this is where we get to the RMD story. So John and Sue had Social Security. They incorporated a Social Security maximization strategy. And once they're 72, they were mandated to take distributions from their pre-tax accounts, and they couldn't control that. So they had to take out a mandated amount, which shot them into a much higher tax bracket. And from that moment on, throughout the entire course of their retirement, they were in a higher tax bracket. Now, for John and Sue, we were assuming tax rates stayed the same for the next 30 years. We don't feel like tax rates are going to stay the same. You probably don't feel like tax rates are going to stay the same. You probably feel like tax rates are going to increase. So we were just assuming they stayed the same. They were going to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of their retirement in federal income tax if they did nothing. So we showed them, here's some strategies you can incorporate right now. And for the next 6 years prior to obtaining age 72, and if you did this, then your tax bill from 72 on is going to be significantly lower. And if we compared the two outcomes, the two results, do the tax planning now, ignore the tax planning, it was going to be $350,000 estimated of tax savings over the course of their retirement.
That's significant.
It's significant. So John and Sue, what they looked at me and they said, we have a great relationship, friend of 20 years, we got to make a change. We got to make a change. And I think it was John, I can't remember, maybe it was Sue. One of them said, we're going to see how good this relationship is. All right, how good this friendship is. Does the friendship exist outside of this financial advisor-client relationship, or does it not? But they had to make a decision that was right for them. They knew they were not getting the planning, the retirement planning from where they were. They needed it, and it was going to save them hundreds of thousands of dollars by incorporating these strategies. So that is something that, and when John and Sue made that decision, they felt great about it because they knew what they were going to get, and they knew what they were getting, and it worked out well for John and Sue. Thank you for watching this clip of Retiring Today, and don't forget to subscribe. If you have questions about your retirement plan, take advantage of the complimentary 15-minute retirement checkup phone call.